Sir, my statement is going to take about 6 minutes. I appreciate leeway since other panel members had up to 7 minutes.
All right, go for it.
Chairman Cummings, Ranking Member Jordan, and members of the committee, it is a privilege to appear before you today, and thank you for this invitation. I have spent 34 years enforcing immigration laws. I started my career in 1984 as a Border Patrol agent, then as a special agent, and climbed the ranks one step at a time to become the acting ICE director. I have conducted and oversaw criminal investigations into aliens.
The gentleman will suspend for just a moment. We're not allowed to have graphic poster displays during testimony of witnesses. Okay, thank you.
I have conducted and oversaw criminal investigations into alien smuggling, human trafficking, immigration fraud, narcotics trafficking, gun trafficking, and human trafficking, child predator crimes, and other customs-related offenses. As the Executive Associate Director of ICE, I oversaw all interior enforcement operations to include arrests, detention, and removal of those illegally in the United States in order removed by an immigration judge.
Forgive me, Mr. Homan. The gentleman will suspend. Officer, the people who are doing that are allowed to stay if they agree not to do any more poster demonstrations. So just let them know that, and they can quietly be readmitted. Very good. Mr. Homan, your time will be compensated for. Thanks.
I retired on January 27, 2017, was asked on that same day to postpone my retirement and serve as the acting director of ICE by the President of the United States. It was a great honor. I stayed and served for another year and a half to my second retirement on June 30th, 2018. With more than 3 decades of immigration enforcement experience, I'm extremely concerned about the growing risk to our nation's public safety, security, rule of law, and that is all due to illegal immigration. What is happening on our southern border is unprecedented in several ways. The composition of those entering illegally is unprecedented because 70% of those are either family units or unaccompanied children. It is also unprecedented that a majority of those crossing are abusing the asylum laws and making fraudulent claims of asylum and are exploiting the loopholes that Congress has refused to close. Also unprecedented is the attack and vilification of the American patriots that serve this nation as Border Patrol agents, ICE officers, and agents. The biggest problem involves the unwillingness of Congress to address the loopholes that are causing this crisis. I and many others have spent the last 2 years saying what needs to be done not only to protect our borders, enforce the law in a meaningful way, but to also save lives. However, those calls for action has fallen on deaf ears because there's no more interest in fixing this problem. It's about open borders agenda, resisting our president, more interest in that than securing our border. This should not be a partisan issue. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, you should want to secure our border. There's no downside on having a secure border. There is no downside on having less illegal immigration. There is no downside on less illegal drugs coming in this country. There is no downside in stopping the bankroll and criminal cartels in Mexico that smuggle both people and drugs. After all, Border Patrol and ICE are merely enforcing the laws enacted by Congress.
Today's video covers one of the most explosive testimonies ever delivered before Congress, and it came from none other than former acting ICE Director Tom Homan. He didn't hold back. From exposing the real causes behind the border crisis to fiercely defending the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol, Homan's words left the entire room stunned, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. If you care about national security, immigration policy, or just want the truth behind the chaos at the border, this is a video you need to watch till the end. So when he speaks,
the past few weeks, the attacks on the Border Patrol have swelled. The media and some in Congress want to say that those in the Border Patrol custody are mistreated. The holding facilities are overcrowded and there are not enough showers. The DHS Inspector General also said the facilities were overcrowded, which in turn affects the quality of care within the facility. However, this should be no surprise to anyone. Border Patrol leadership and acting DHS Secretary McAleenan have been warning Congress for months that this system is overwhelmed and that more funds are needed so these people can be moved quickly to a more appropriate facility designed for them. The same people that vilify the Border Patrol for detention conditions are the same people that refuse to answer their call for help until it's too late. I find it disheartening that no one here, I've heard today, wants to talk about the 4,000 lives that the Border Patrol saved last year. Over 4,000 people that were found by Border Patrol agents in dire straits that may have perished if it wasn't for the heroic efforts of these agents. No one talks about how these men and women bring toys from their home and their own children to these facilities so the migrant children will have something to play with. No one talks about the sicknesses of these migrants and how these agents take that sickness home to their own families because of that exposure. No one wants to talk about how these agents have to go through TB screening constantly because they've been exposed to that serious illness. No one wants to talk about how these men and women who care for these children that cross illegally into this country, I'm talking about unaccompanied alien children now, cross into this country in the hands of criminal organizations that were abandoned by their own families. No one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about how these Border Patrol agent mom and dads console these children, and it's disgraceful. Finally, I want to address the unprecedented attack and vilification of men and women of ICE and the Border Patrol. These men and women who chose a life of service to this nation deserve better, not only from the media, from those here in this committee and other members of Congress. These men and women who chose life of service deserve more. These men and women are working in extremely difficult environments and dealing with an extraordinary influx of vulnerable people. They are doing the best they can under the circumstances. As a 34-year veteran of law enforcement, it is shocking to see the constant attacks against those that leave the safety and security of their homes every day, put on a Kevlar vest and put a gun on their hip, and risk their own safety to defend this nation.
70% of those crossing illegally are family units or unaccompanied minors. Many are using asylum loopholes that allow them to stay in the U.S. even if their claims are bogus. He slammed Congress for failing to close these loopholes, accusing lawmakers of being more focused on resisting the president than securing the border. According to Homan, the system is being gamed, and it's Congress's fault. This part hit hard. Homan went off on the media and politicians who demonize ICE and Border Patrol agents. These are men and women who risk their lives every day, yet they're accused of cruelty and abuse. He told stories of agents bringing their own kids' toys to detention centers for migrant children, agents exposed to deadly diseases like TB just for doing their job, but nobody talks about that. He said it best: these patriots deserve better. Then came one of the most eye-opening moments. Homan explained the impact of the Flores settlement, which limits the detention of children to just 20 days. That's why so many families cross the border, because they know they'll be released quickly even if they broke the law. He called for urgent reform, saying Congress must act now if we want any real change. Without it, the crisis will keep spiraling. By the end of his testimony, Homan made one thing clear: this isn't about politics. It's about safety, security, and the rule of law. He begged Congress to stop playing games and start fixing the system for the sake of agents, migrants, and the future of America. And honestly, he's right. Tom Homan didn't mince words. He exposed the harsh reality that many in Washington refuse to admit. The crisis is real. The laws are broken, and the heroes trying to enforce them are being thrown under the bus. So what do you think? Should Congress take his advice and act now, or are we going to keep kicking the can down the road while the crisis explodes? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more unfiltered truth about what's happening behind the scenes in Washington, make sure you hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more hard-hitting content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.